yeah. Let's just do it. Sometimes some of the best stuff happens.
I know. I had a huge crush on Barry in high school. He didn't know who I was, even though I walked by his house and he lived like 5 miles from me. Every day I'd walk by his house. He lived next door to Dennis Gassner, 2 doors away. And Dennis Gassner has an Academy Award or two for lighting on movies. Yeah. But yeah, huge crush on Barry. So that's the joke around the club, you know. Like, I told him, I said, one of these days, because I got hit by a drunk driver in '96 and I was recouping from brain trauma. So I'm a veteran with brain trauma and PTSD, but not because of the military. So unique. But I fit right in, I'll tell you. Anyway, so, oh my gosh, let me get to the intro of the show and your intro. 1 second here. Let me be a pro for a second. Yeah. Facebook, you lucky dogs. You are lucky as it gets today. Comic Spot, that's just a side note, you guys. It was started by this Army veteran, so I can vet out comedy veterans. And have we got one here for you today? He's over in that box over there. That's him right there. Yes. I'm so proud of him. I mean, he did all the work. All I have to do is be proud of him. It's so easy. Go be proud of somebody. You don't have to do no work. Here he is, Andres Fernandez.
Hey, how you doing? Thank you so much, Linda, and everybody out there listening to us.
Yes. Let me read the intro he gave me. Here with us today is a 30-plus year comic. Did you hear me? Better pay attention. With credits like Comedy Central, Comics Unleashed, yeah, the Weather Channel, you know what I'm talking about. Showtime tours all over the world, all over the freaking world. Iraq tour, documentary with Jeffrey Ross and Drew Carey. Woo! But 13 years ago, he started a new phase of his life as an entrepreneur, opening and still owner of the Ventura Harbor Comedy Club. He has opened and still runs 2 other restaurants and now collaborating with the Canyon Club. Comic and entrepreneur Andres Fernandez.
Hey, that's me right there. Yeah, I wrote that for myself.
Sounds so good.
I tried to be humble, but at the same time, I did want to write some things that, you know, as you said to me this morning, what would you say? You know, that's as clear as I can put it, to try to be humble, but at the same time, as an entrepreneur, I want to push my businesses and let everybody know what I'm doing, especially now, because right now it just seems like all the things that we're doing, you know, being an entrepreneur is not just about trying to make money. That was also never my first goal anyway. But now more than ever, it really is about connecting, doing something that works. Obviously, making a profit is one of the measures of success, but it's also about things working together. And like you said, why you got into this, because you love comics, and during the pandemic, I did the same thing. I started a little web show. Being here in my restaurant closed down with nothing to do, I started calling all my friends and starting to do a web show myself. And now I'm doing shows in a parking lot. Last night, we did the first Latino night. So we had a DJ, we had a Cuban band, and we had a comedian, Lisa Alvarado, in the middle while the band took a break to do a 20-minute spot. And it was fantastic. And I wish I would have downloaded some clips to show you, but we've got people in the parking lot dancing, spaced apart, so there's no craziness where we're going to be on the news going, oh my God, look at what these people are doing. We're doing it the right way. We're not circumventing health laws, and at the same time creating something for the public to be able to go out. Because the reason people get together in places that are unsafe right now is because clearly we're not used to this and we're itching to go out. You know, it's got to be people like myself who are in the business that find a way so that people can go out, enjoy themselves, and yet we don't hurt ourselves anymore. and
Yes.
make it any worse. So,
Yeah. How many people showed up and how fun was it?
so last night it was my first Latino night. We had about 50 cars. So on the average, 2 to 4 people a car. So you figure, only 120 people maybe, but which is a lot considering it was my first Thursday and my first Latino. The past 2 weeks on Saturdays, I've done comedy shows. And those nights I brought on 100 plus cars. So you figure the same thing. There were 2, we were charging per car. So there were 2 to 4 people a car. So there could have been, 250 to 300 people in this parking lot. And it was great. Everybody loved it. And we have transmitters. And so they're getting the volume through their car, as well as a big stage with fantastic sound and lights anyway. And so it turned out to be a great show over the past 2 weeks. And now, last night, my first Latino night. So I'm doing that every Thursday. And then sporadically the Friday and Saturdays as we build up.
If I came to a drive-in show, it would be really confusing because I'm a baby boomer and I'm used to honk if you're horny. I would be so busy.
Well, there'd be a lot of honking going around, okay? Everybody, there's a lot of honking going.
Oh.
There must be a lot of pretty people in Oxnard. Because that's what everybody's doing now. Everybody, that's the way you can react. So we're actually, dong, 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 every time there's a good joke, there's honking. So you don't have to worry about getting laid. There's a lot of honking.
I tell in my comedy, I say that my self-esteem is really low. And I don't know if it's because I'm old or the Me Too movement. God, I hope it's the Me Too movement because I haven't heard a honking car, cat collar, wolf whistle in a long time.
But I gotta tell you, things are going. Things are difficult right now,
Yes.
but they're going the way they're going, and everybody's working towards. I believe most people are on the same page.
Yes.
We're wearing masks, we're trying to be safe, and at the same time trying to realize, this can't be the end of the world. Then what the hell's the sense of anything? So we've got to figure out a way, and where there's a will, there's a way. We'll figure it out.
Yes, people are. I've noticed from the first time I called someone on Zoom and the person was severely depressed, confused, distraught by the world, as I was, which is why I started doing this in the pandemic, is that the people's spirits have lifted and there's some measure of hope out there for the future.
Yeah, for sure. And I believe people are aware that that's what they want. It's actually really a positive thing that's happening to us to realize what we really want out of life. It isn't about money and selfish and materialistic things. There's something. This is making us aware of what we really want. I think we want to be right with each other. We want the world to be right. We want people to support each other. And not feel like you're really out there all alone. Because the social distancing brings that really home, where you realize that's really not what I want. I don't want to be alone in a mansion, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Or whatever. I want to be with my people. And it's one of the things that I think is going to be a real benefit in my business, because I'm in the entertainment field. And that's what I do, is bring people together, and so the fear of this is the end of social gatherings. It's just like, that's the end of my career. You know what I mean? One of them. I have a few other things that I enjoy doing, but one of my main careers are nightclub, live entertainment, restaurants, where people gather together. And so not until I see more of a sign that that's absolutely gone, am I going to give up. In the meantime, I'm going to find a way to get through this. And then I believe afterwards, like I said, people are going to appreciate what we do even more. They're going to appreciate live entertainment. They're going to appreciate going out to a nightclub, going out to a restaurant, socializing in a way that we just have just a new appreciation for each other.
Yes, absolutely. So what all would you like to plug because you have the floor to talk as long as you want to get
Well,
people to know everything you want them to know about you and your club or you.
well, I would love to plug, believe it or not, one of the businesses that I'm collaborating with, the Canyon Club. The Canyon Club has taken a massive hit. Okay, this is a club that they've got 6 huge locations. The Savant Theater in Beverly Hills seats 1,900. The Libby Bowl seats 1,300 in Ojai. The 2 Canyons in Agora Hill and Santa Clarita seat 800 each. They had the Rose of Pasadena that sat 4,000, I believe was the number. And so they were big locations, all shut down, you know. And and also the Oxnard Performing Arts Center that seats 1,600. And so all of them shut down. So you want to talk about a hit. This company has taken a massive hit. But the owner is I mean, he is a beast. I mean, this man it's got to be one of the best nightclub promoters, restaurateurs, owners you've ever seen. He's a beast. He's not giving up. And he is, you know, without any income coming in, without anything, completely cut off, and having all this to manage and hold up 400 employees, is finding a way through the weeds to make it happen. And I'm honored to be working with them and to learn, you know, to be basically mentored by someone like that who's got so much. He was the general manager of House of Blues, and in Vegas and in New Orleans and California, and his name is Lance, and so he's a phenomenal restaurateur, owner, nightclub promoter, and and so I'm honored to be working with him. And so I wanted to first talk about that only because in working with him is where I'm doing like that show last night in his parking lot at the Oxnard Performing Arts Center that has a parking lot for 160 cars that we can start to put together shows in a safe way, you know. And this was actually his idea, and then he came to me and said, "Can you put it together?" And so I'm doing the footwork of putting it all together, but this was his idea. So he's not somebody who lays down and dies, you know. And so like I said, I'm honored to be working with them. And then my other 2 businesses, well, I have 3 businesses. I own the Comedy Club, the Ventura Harbor Comedy Club, that I can't wait till things open up and I can get comics back. They're calling me, and you know, they're all itching to work. You know, obviously, you know, comics. You ain't a comic unless you're doing 300 shows a year. You know what I mean? Comics are working every night. They're working 5-6 nights a week. You know, in Vegas, the Tropicana did 14 shows a week. You know, I mean, it's just, you know, we're used to doing shows, and that's how you keep your chops up, you know? And to comics, the performance is the rehearsal. You know what I mean? It's just, we don't sit in our houses pretending in front of the mirror to do a show. You know, you go and do work, you do a show, and that's your rehearsal. And so to have 3 months without work, comics are just like, you can see that even the shows I'm putting together, they're like, oh my God, you know, not only have they not worked in 3 months, are they rusty, but I'm putting them up in a parking lot in front of cars, okay? No audience reaction. People are in their cars and they're standing up on the stage, you know, and it's you know, they're being heckled by Ford Tauruses. They're being but they're troopers comics. They're up there and they're trying to stay with it. So I can't wait to put together shows again. And then my other 2 restaurants, I own a restaurant called the 805 Bar and Grill Cheese. Okay, the 805 Bar and Grill Cheese, not a bar and grill. It's a bar and grill cheese.
Love that.
And, yeah, and so and it's doing fantastic. I've had this restaurant for 12 years, and then
what area is that in?
That's in Ventura, in the Ventura Harbor. Yeah, all my businesses are here right now in the Ventura Harbor.
Okay.
With the exception of my collaborations with the Canyon, they're all over Southern California. But my personal businesses that I own are here in the Ventura Harbor, and I've been here for 13 years. Since I opened up the club, then I opened up the restaurant, then I had another restaurant downtown Ventura, but I got rid of that and I opened up a Cuban restaurant as well here in the harbor. So I have a Cuban restaurant called the Copa Cubana. Yeah, not Copacabana, Copa Cubana, Cuban, Copa Cubana. And it's here in the harbor. And both of my restaurants are side by side. And so we share the kitchen. It's a very unique restaurant. It really is. It's really, imagine imagine two restaurants with one kitchen. And because what I did was I had the one restaurant, and then I bought out the restaurant next door that was a sushi restaurant, and I broke through combining the kitchens. The kitchens were back to back, and so I broke through the wall, combined the kitchens, and so on one restaurant you have the Copacabana, and the other you have the grilled cheese. And little by little, people started buying things from each one, and so I didn't want to morph the idea of grilled cheese, Cuban fusion, confusion. You know, I didn't want to do that. So I kept it authentic Cuban and gourmet grilled cheese. But if you want ropa vieja with mac and cheese, I can do that. And so that's what we do. And you'd be surprised how many people want an entree from the Cuban side with mac and cheese or tomato soup, or some people want a grilled cheese sandwich with rice and beans, and so we do it. So, but there are two different restaurants. Yeah.
Now all you need is a kosher restaurant with a very own separate kitchen.
I had a bakery downtown. I'm a bagel baker.
No way.
I am. I'm a hand roller. I hand roll bagels from New York. I'm an old Cuban Jew from way back.
You're a Cuban Jew. I'm a half.
I'm not Jewish, but I'm just saying I'm Cuban. But I worked with Jews for such a long time. I'm a hand roller. It's an old lost Jewish trade that I learned when I was a kid. I worked in a bagel shop, and I was trained to hand roll bagels. And I did that for years. When I first started out as an entertainer, I would go to acting school. I did my gigs. And then afterwards, I'd go to work in the bakery and work throughout the night. Come home at 6 in the morning, and then crash, and then go out at night and do it again. And
okay, so, let's talk about your childhood just a little bit.
Yeah.
Where did you grow up exactly?
I grew up in New York. My dad had a bakery in Brooklyn, which is how I got into the bakery and restaurant business.
Where in Brooklyn?
In Brownsville.
Okay.
On Brownsville, yeah, on Sutter Avenue. My dad had a bakery on Sutter Avenue, and we had an apartment above the bakery. And so I lived there, and what I did every day was downstairs in the bakery. I played. That's what we did. We got up in the morning before school. I had to jelly the donuts. You know what I mean? I had certain little chores to do, and then go to school. And we lived there until I was 8 years old. And then, although my dad still had the bakery for a little time after that, but we moved to Queens. And then Queens is where I lived the rest of my life. My mom still lives there in the same house that we had, and that's in Glen Oaks, Queens. And
she healthy right now?
Yeah. My mom's, I mean, as healthy as someone 78 years old could be. She's taking care of herself well. She gets along. She's mobile. She's eating well. But she's got diabetes, and she's got problems that come with with age as well. But
but she's COVID free.
She's COVID free. COVID free. She lives by herself in the house. She takes care of herself, and is careful to not be around people. And so thank goodness. Although I have had two people in my family, two cousins, who have had it on the East Coast, and so they're fine now. But one of them had it pretty bad, and then the other one had it not as bad, but the whole family had it. Her husband, and the two kids had it. And so so I know what it is to be affected by it. And right now they're saying that if you haven't had it, you probably know somebody who has had it.
Yes.
And so that's where we're at right now.
That's right.
I take it very serious. It's a serious thing. And in my restaurant, we all wear masks. We all, constantly sanitize and wash our hands and practice social distance. And in my opinion, it's one of those things that it's really a small price to pay for the chance of this going away and us going back to normal. So
absolutely. What are some You
I'm
go
sorry.
ahead.
I was just gonna add one little note. I don't understand the people that fight it.
Exactly.
You know, I don't. If they said I'd have to give up my first child, I'd have to lose an arm. But to wear a mask, is that really the big deal? What's
I know.
So I just don't understand people that fight that. That as if we're taking away your right.
I'm only part Jewish. It was my dad, the wrong half. And I go to restaurants and a sign says, don't even bother coming in if you're not wearing a mask. And I see a business opportunity to stand outside and sell masks.
Absolutely.
It's like missed opportunity. Hello.
Absolutely. And the thing is that it's really such a small price to pay, and it's a logical thing.
Yes.
You know what I mean? If there was some way that somebody could say, well, that doesn't make any sense. They're telling me that I'd have to go and put in a new water heater, or or something. Then I go, where's the connection? But clearly the connection. There's a sickness, there's a virus, it's killing people. Put on a mask will minimize the amount of the spread. It makes all the sense in the world. Why would you fight it? Why would you argue that? I don't understand people that would argue that. So,
I'm a veteran and I live at a veteran village in Vegas. They have 6 of them here. It's affordable for veterans, and they don't want to wear a mask. They don't want to distance. We've had 2 people hauled out of here with the COVID.
Yeah.
And they think I'm the nutty one because I'm wearing a mask. I'm like, I don't think so, but do your thing. I'll do mine.
Yeah. It just to me doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, this is, in my opinion, it's a serious thing.
Very serious.
And when people say it's a hoax, if there's 160,000 people that, either they died or they did not. If it's a hoax and there's 160,000 people in an island someplace and somebody said, don't say anything, we're going to pull a fast one on the world, then I get it. It could be a hoax. But if they're dead, there's 160,000 dead people. This is a serious thing, and more people could die. And we want to minimize the spread. We want to minimize the damage, before it becomes something that we don't know if we're going to find the vaccine. We don't know if it's going to go away. We don't know anything about it, and if it was, and when they compare it to like the flu and things like that, if we knew for a fact that it was like the flu, then I would say, okay, I'm leaning on that side too. Maybe more people die of the flu, whatever, but we know it's like the flu. But we don't know it's like the flu. We don't know it goes away. We don't know that if the Tom Hanks and his wife Rita, they're saying that their immunity has gone down, so they can catch it again. And we don't know what happens to people once they catch it twice or 3 times. And if in 3 or 4 years we find out that the first time you may be asymptomatic or have serious symptoms, the second time you may lose a lung, the third time you may, by the 4th time you're for sure dead. Once we find that out in 5 years, what are those people going to say? The ones that were fighting it now. Why not try to rid the disease? The disease only works because it connects with another person to stay alive. So we have to have the social distance. It's the only thing that makes sense.
Yes.
So in my opinion, and it really is a small thing a small price for us to pay. Wear a mask, clean your hands.
I'm 69 years old, and I've never seen the world more mashugana in my life than it is right now. Never anything like this.
Yeah,
crazy. Everybody's up in arms about. You can't even talk about toothpicks without it being a Republican or Democratic thing.
Yeah, and I'm a little bit more on the conservative side than I am on the liberal side. Although I've been a liberal my whole life until I went into business. But
until you start getting money.
but even though a lot of my views are a little bit more conservative, a lot of my views are still very liberal, where I look at things like we have a social contract. We have a responsibility to society. And if you live in a big city or you live in anywhere where there's people, you have a responsibility to everybody else, not just yourself. And so like I think even in a community, that if you live in a commune or in some kind of a veteran, anything like that, you're part of a group, and the group consciousness needs to be for the betterment of all. And unless they have a specific, like I said, unless someone can tell me specifically, they know absolutely certain what's going to happen in a year, then okay, I'll listen to you. But if you don't know, if nobody knows what's going to happen, then let's err on the side of caution.
Yeah, it's not rocket science,
That's
it's just
that's what I think. That's what I
yeah.
think. No, nobody knows what's going to happen with this disease. Nobody knows if this is really the end of the world. Nobody knows.
Yeah.
And
Nobody knows.
so I don't know why not pray for the best, but at the same time do what we can right now to be supportive, to be together, to try to find a way. That's why this idea of doing a show in a parking lot, I'm excited about it, because I'm not circumventing health laws. I'm creating something where we had people dancing and they were easily 10, 15 feet apart from each other. But the whole parking lot, I could eventually fit in 160 cars where everybody's dancing. My daughter, we just had a baby. My daughter,
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. And she had her baby 10 weeks ago, and she went Saturday to my comedy show with her, with the baby, with my grandson and her husband. And they set up, 2 chairs, a little table, a little picnic. They watched the comedy show, and they had a great time. And she said, Dad, we really enjoyed it. We were looking forward to it, and we were able to go out with the baby, sit there and watch a show. And so I think you're onto something. And so that's what I want as an entrepreneur, something that's win-win. You know what I mean? Yeah. It really, hopefully we'll make money at it. But right now, if we break even, I've done a good thing. We created something good for people to go out and be entertained, be together, and at the same time, not spread the disease.
Yes. And have the news media stepped up to the plate and put you on TV?
No, not yet. We're hoping. My daughter actually works with public relations, and she's putting out press releases and things like that. And so I'm hoping that soon something comes up and people take notice of what we're doing, because there's a way to.
Sorry, what?
No. I said because there's a way to do it. When you see all these parties going on, in Florida, in LA, these house parties, there's a way that we can do this, that we can have social gatherings and at the same time practice social distance.
Yeah. Do you have car hops on roller skates?
No, but I'm working on it. I've got a guy on a skateboard. Okay.
That's even better.
Yeah. We're doing it right now on a skateboard. So we got a guy on a skateboard going back and forth, and that's been cool. But little by little, that's coming. That's coming.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
When's the next drive-in theater that you're doing?
So it's going to be on Thursday. Every Thursday now, I'm doing a Latino night, and that's going to be a different Latin group. Like next week, I'm doing a Havana night. The week after that, we're doing a Mexican night. And then as far as the music goes, we have reggae on Sundays, and then Fridays and Saturdays, we're just booking them now with different bands, different cover bands, all kinds of different bands. So we're just starting that now. And if anybody's interested, go to parkedcarcomedy.com.
Parkedcarcomedy.com.
Yeah, parkedcarcomedy.com. And you can see all the shows that we have coming up. You can buy your tickets right there. And if anybody's here in the Southern California area. And if anybody would like us to produce a show, anybody who has a fairly large area, like a parking lot, tell me, and I can put that together as well. Get a hold of it.
Well, I'm a buddy of Jeffrey Peterson. He was on yesterday on your thing. If he gets booked, I'll ride with him and come to the show.
You got it.
Yeah.
You got it. Say hello to Jeffrey.
I will. He's a good buddy. He's been very supportive of my young comedy life.
Oh, fantastic.
And patient too.
He's a good guy.
He's a good guy. Yeah. So there's a lot of really good comedians that are supportive here in Vegas.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I
You know,
believe.
some
Sorry.
of the some of the best comics in the world have come through Ventura Harbor Comedy Club.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, we've had Ron White, David Spade. I mean, you name it. You know, and then obviously some of the guys that have been around a long time, like Jimmy Walker, who lives in Vegas. Um, a lot of my friends live in Vegas. Nancy lives in Vegas, and I mean, it's just, you know, Vegas is a great, great comedy town, and I
Yeah.
worked there for years. I worked at the Tropicana for years.
With
And,
Harry?
no, I worked there for, it was not when Harry had it. I worked there for the Comedy Stop at the Trop, and so that was over 10 years ago. And
Yeah.
then actually it was Brad Garrett took it over from the Comedy Stop at the Trop, and then he moved to the MGM.
Yes.
But before that, it was Comedy Stop at the Trop, and this guy Bob Kephart, who had there, and he had the Tropicana in Atlantic City, and so I worked for both of those for years. I did it.
Can you talk to me about your entertaining the troops? That's just like, you know, the
Yeah,
dream job for me. So
yeah.
I want to hear about that.
I loved it. So I've been to Bosnia, Kosovo, all over Europe, Sicily, Sigonella, Spain, Portugal, Greece, entertaining the troops, Japan, all the bases in Japan I went to, and then Iraq. You know, I went to Iraq, so I got a call from Drew Carey, but it was actually Blake Clark, who was in a lot of Adam Sandler's movies. So Blake is a good buddy of mine, and he's the one who Drew called him and said, "Now I want to put together this troupe of comics." And Blake said, "Call Andres," and then Drew called me and asked me to go on the tour. And so it was me, Drew Carey, Jeff Ross, Blake Clark, Rocky Laporte, Kathy Kearney was there, that was on the Drew Carey show, and Kyle Dunnigan, another comic, and we had a great time. And we went to Iraq, and it was fantastic. It was fantastic. One of the best experiences of my life. I mean, we were flown there in a C-130. And then once we got there, we were flown around in Blackhawks. We had 2 Blackhawks that were like ours for like 5 days that we just, you know, toured from one base to another. I slept in Saddam Hussein's palace in Tikrit, and it was just phenomenal. It was phenomenal. It was surreal. It was surreal. You know,
did any military people come up to you and say something that you've never forgotten they said?
Yeah. I you know, forgotten and given us some gifts. You know, when we were there, we had like personal escorts, because obviously, you know, being entertainers and being there in a dangerous place. So each one of us, they had a soldier that just stayed with us at all times. So you figure there were like 6 people performing, so there were 6 soldiers that stayed with us. So we had a troop of 12 to 15 people, you know, everywhere we went. And the one soldier that was assigned to, I guess, bodyguard me, his name was Andres, just like me. And he just said that he missed his wife and his kids, and that he appreciated everything we did. And he gave me his scope. And I told him, I can't take this. He goes, no, I got an extra one. So he had a rifle scope, and he gave me this scope, you know, and he signed it, and I still have it. And and it was just, you know, just one of those things that I was really touched by that.
Oh, that's,
you know?
beautiful. Did he miss them because they had perished?
No, he missed them because he was in Iraq for
Good.
you know, for such a long time that he hadn't been home. But it was, you know, it was quite an emotional tour.
Yeah.
I mean, we had, and the troops were just grateful for everybody being there, And Drew Carey, I have to tell you, is an absolute gentleman. I mean, this man signed, I don't know how many autographs in 5-6 days, constantly got up on stage, constantly motivating, a real gentleman, and truly was just a very nice person to be with. And so I really have the utmost respect for him.
Absolutely.
And then Jeff filmed a documentary that's called Patriot Act. So you can check it out. Patriot Act. It's been on Showtime, HBO. And
how do you spell it?
Patriot Act.
Jeffrey Ross. Okay.
And check it out. And he filmed that tour, and then he sold it. And I was like, what? He sent me a release, and I was like, all right. And I just signed it. He's like, I'm filming this little thing, but just in case, would you mind? Next thing I know, it's on HBO. I'm like, what the hell's going on here?
Oh my Lord.
But God bless him. He created something really nice, actually.
He's got such a following. He's taken over Howard Stern's place in a lot of regards.
Yeah. He's a great guy, funny guy, and so really talented. Always writing, always coming up with something. And
love it.
So yeah, I'm honored to have been in the same circle as them and to call them my friends.
I have one question for you, and then we'll replug your website and your shows and your restaurants, businesses. I want to know when was the first time you got up on stage, and how scared were you, and how did it go?
It was my very first time. Was a place in New York on 14th Street called the Eagle Tavern, and it was terrible. It was terrible. It was about 30 or 40 comics, all of them just like me, just starting out, no audience, and nobody would laugh. And I went there with my little brother, and I told him that I wanted to do this and get up on stage, and I did it. And as I'm doing it, he started heckling me. I'm like, what are you doing? And there's my brother Richie going, you suck. I'm like, what the hell is wrong? What is wrong with you?
Well, that's a whole different kind of bringer.
Yeah.
Do you know Gladys Simon in New York?
No.
She used to do Hamburger Harry's and.
Oh yeah, I know. That was one of the places that I started out at.
She's my comedy coach.
Okay. So that was one of the places that I also started out at. CBGB's Record Emporium. So CBGB's had a little record store next door, and they had a landing, and you would go up on this landing, and they had 8 people sitting there watching you, and but the same thing. It was like comics that just put their names on a list, and they would come in, and the only audience you had was the 6 or 7 comics waiting to get on after you. And then as soon as you got off stage, you would leave and go to the Eagle Tavern or go to Hamburger Harry's, and you'd pick up 4 or 5 spots like that throughout the night, and it's just brutal. It's brutal.
Yeah. I love the New York comedy scene. I'm still plugged in with them. I've lived there twice. Love New York. Love it.
Yeah.
People are awesome.
Same here. I miss it. I mean, I'm cool here in California, but New York, I didn't realize I'd be out here 20 years.
Yeah.
I thought I'd be out here like 4 years, but it wound up being obviously a lot more. So now I've got a life here, and I've got businesses here, and my grandchild is here, and so the best I could hope for is to someday be a little bit more bi-coastal and spend a little bit more time. But I definitely want to get back home.
Yes. So replug everything that you want to plug.
So I want to plug the Canyon Club. I want everybody to see what the Canyon Club is doing, because we're going to be doing shows at the Oxnard Performing Arts Center. We're going to be doing shows in Montclair, and we're going to be doing shows in Agora. So little by little, all of these spaces that we have parking lots, we're going to start doing the same kind of shows. Then I also would love for them to stay in touch with me and the Ventura Harbor Comedy Club. But that's obviously a comedy club indoors, and so it's going to take me some time when this is all lifted for me to open. My other two restaurants are open right now. The 805 Bar and Grilled Cheese, because I have a big patio area. So the 805 Bar and Grilled Cheese and the Copa Cubana, the only Cuban restaurant within 50 miles. I'm the only grilled cheese restaurant within 50 miles of where I'm at. And I'm positive I'm the only grilled cheese Cuban restaurant in the country. Okay, maybe the world. Okay,
Wow.
I don't know
Wow.
anybody who's got grilled cheese in Cuban. All right, so.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much, Andres Fernandez, for coming on
I appreciate
from
it.
Ventura Harbor Comedy Club. And what's the name of your website again? Parkcarcomedy.com?
Parkcarcomedy.com.
Wonderful.
All right, so check out parkcarcomedy.com, or you can go to 805copa.com and see what I'm doing. Or you can go to the Canyon, okay, the Canyon Club, and you can also get connected there. All right?
Got it.
See their shows.
Wonderful. Who are you on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook?
I-
And YouTube?
It's either 805 Copacabana or Andres Fernandez. I'm sure you'll find any one of those. They'll link you in.
Got it. Thank you. I'll plug you. I'll plug the heck out of this. Thanks for being thanks for being a mention coming on.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Thanks for serving the troops.
Always, always.
Thank you. Bye. Love you lots.
You too.